Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going over 10 tips and tricks to buying on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. Now, this mainly applies if you're running a business online and you're trying to buy used items to flip and sell and make money. But honestly, a lot of these tools and techniques will help you even if you just want to buy things for yourself and get a good deal on them. So, let's get right into it. First off, quick analysis of the items whenever you see them on the page. These are the questions that you want to ask yourself whenever you see something. How much do you think it'll sell for? Will it sell quickly? Is it broken? If it's broken, will you lose money, break even, or still make a small profit? Do you want to negotiate for the item, or do you want to pay what they're asking? And what would you willing to be paid? What would you willing to pay for it? These are all the things that you want to start asking yourself whenever you see an item, and this will determine whether or not you obviously want to buy it or you don't. So if the price is greater than what you want to pay, then this is usually what I do. So the message I start with will be a question about the item, and you want to make sure that it's not something that they mentioned in the ad because that will annoy the person, and you want to make sure it's not something that's really obvious in the photos. So, for example, hello, I'm interested in this item. I would like to know if the controller is having stick drift. In this example, if you're buying a PS4, controllers often have stick drift, so you can ask them if it does and try to ask something that you can use to lower the price. So maybe in this situation, if you're buying a system with 3 different controllers and all the controllers have stick drift, then maybe you wouldn't even want to buy it. But maybe if one of them has stick drift out of the 3 and you can use that and think, okay, considering that that controller has stick drift or one of the controllers has stick drift, can you do, $10, $20, $30 less, whatever it is you want to offer. If deal is really good and no further questions, then I usually will go right to the pickup of things where, hello, I would like to buy this item off you. When can I pick it up? And then sometimes if it's a really, really good deal, people aren't going to respond because they have a lot of people messaging them. So sometimes what I'll do, I'll send the first message, I'll wait 5, maybe 10 minutes. If they don't reply back, boom, I'll send them with another one and it'll be like, hey, would you prefer cash or e-transfer? And that just bumps you back up to the top of the list on their messages on Facebook Marketplace and gives you a higher chance of actually buying the item. So tip number 1. Don't be afraid of fixing broken items. Honestly, there's a lot of things you can buy on Marketplace where it's really simple fixes, or it's things that sometimes you don't even need to fix. Sometimes people just don't understand how the thing works. The one time I bought a PlayStation 4 off this girl, she told me she plugged it in, it didn't work. And I was like, okay. I literally brought it home, plugged it in, and it worked completely fine. I don't know what she was on. Maybe her outlet wasn't working properly. I don't know. I've had other times where I bought another PS4 and the guy told me again it wasn't working. I plugged it in, hit the disk ejection button, and it actually worked fine. It turned on. The thing was the power button was broken. But then again, after a couple of YouTube videos, watching some videos on how to fix that, it was the contact point on the power button that was bent. So I opened it up, bent it back in place, cleaned it a little bit, put it back together, and got to work. So there's some things that are really easy fixes, and you're gonna make a lot of money that way. So basically, I categorize fixes into easy fixes and hard fixes. Easy fixes are things like what I just explained, as well as if the joystick rubbers are rubbing off, if it's got a slow disk ejection, that's a really simple fix for PS4s. You open them up, you take alcohol and you clean the little rollers that roll the disc in and out, and boom, it'll work fine. Dead controller battery, corrupted computer or laptop hard drive. These are all things that are really easy to fix, and honestly, if you don't know how to fix them, you can watch a YouTube video and you can figure it out pretty easily. You need a screwdriver and that's about it. Hard fixes are things like water damage, controller stick drift. I have done stick drift fixes in the past. It's not very easy because you have to solder off the controller joystick and solder a new one on. And essentially what I would do is I would take another controller that was broken but had a different problem. I would solder off the joystick of that one, put it onto the other one, and the whole process would take me around 2 hours of time, which is not really worth it for me when it comes to how much money I was making off of the controllers. I was probably selling them for around $40 to $50 each, but I could sell broken controllers with stick drift. I could sell, 10 of them on eBay for $25 a piece in one big lot. So that's what I've done in the past, because for me, it just doesn't make sense in terms of a time investment. And cracked phone screen. Personally, I don't know how to do that. I never even tried. I haven't had a lot of broken phone screens. I haven't bought them. But that's something that if you can learn how to do it, you can make a lot of money doing it. Why not? Number 2, buying risks. So you want to ask for video proof of the item if you're not meeting at their house. This is one of the things where I have noticed 90% of the time, if somebody doesn't want to meet at their house, the item is probably broken. There's probably something wrong with it, and that's why they don't want to meet at their house, because if you buy it, then you can go back and be like, hey, like, this isn't working, which I have done before. So if you don't want to meet if they don't want to meet at their house, this doesn't 100% mean that they're trying to scam you. There is a chance that they're just sketched out about meeting people at their house, and I've had a lot of these people like that as well. What I'll usually do is I'll ask them for a video of the item actually working with a certain function, and majority of the time that works out. I've had a few times where I've asked people and they didn't respond, so then you probably know it's a scam. Or I've had times where people have sent me a fake video of someone online on YouTube or something doing the thing that I asked them to do in the video. And you can kind of tell if someone's doing that, like if the video looks a little weird, or, you can also tell just like if you look at the video and maybe there's like certain scuff marks in the system, maybe there's, controller colors, maybe there's, you can look for little like clues that will tell you if it's from them or not. And if you really, really want to know, you can ask them to send a second video verifying a specific action or thing with the item. And that will let you know, like if they can't really fake 2 videos, especially if you're asking for a specific thing to be done in the videos. So, I mean, unless they got like Sora AIs out by then, and you can create fake videos. But at this time, I feel like you're pretty safe if someone sends you 2 videos of it working. But even still, there are chances that you miss out on some of the functions. So it is just something to keep in mind. But a good rule of thumb is if you're doing this, like for example, the time when I got scammed I say, by buying something from somebody when it was actually broken, I made sure, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be broken, but I made sure that even if I bought the item and it was broken, I would still make money off of the sale. So that's what happened that time. Number 3, sending deposits. So if somebody asks for a deposit, it's probably a scam. Again, I have been scammed this way as well. Pay attention to order of text messages. If it's a really good deal and they don't want to mark it as sold or pending, then you can offer to send a deposit, get address first. So this is something where you can send a deposit to get them to hold the item for you, but majority of the time, if they ask first for a deposit, it's a red flag. Though there has been a few times where people have asked for a deposit and I've sent it, or for whatever reason. If they have good reviews on Marketplace and they look like they have a legit profile, that's another thing you can do. If you look at their profile and they have a bunch of friends and they have a bunch of people on their account, there's a less likelihood chance that they're going to scam you, because all of their friends are connected to their account. And if you really wanted, not that I'm saying you should, but you could message their friends and be like, hey, like, this person scammed me, can you help me get my money back, or something along those lines. And just the possibility of that being a thing, I think would deter a lot of people. Or maybe they wouldn't even think about that, but if they don't think about that, it's kind of silly. Most of the people who I have been scammed by, they didn't have any friends on Facebook. It was a brand new account, or it was an account with no friends. So that's something to know. Don't get greedy. If a deal is really good, don't keep negotiating further. Take it and run. So I have done this a few times when I first started the business, where I found a really, really good deal and I tried to get an even better deal with it, just because every single person I was talking to, I was trying to negotiate and just get better deals. It's a business. I was trying to make more money, what it is. But what I realized is that sometimes you don't get the deals then, and you just miss out entirely. So if it's a really good deal, don't be greedy. Just take it and run. Obviously, you can negotiate if you want. If you do really want to negotiate, it would be better to negotiate in person. Just tell them like, hey, like, I'll come pick this up, or when can I come pick this up? When can I come check it out? You know, however you want to frame it. And then when you get there in person, then you can, you know, maybe try and negotiate a little bit. And if they say no, usually if they say no over text, if it's a really good deal, the possibility, the fear is that somebody else is going to offer them the full asking price and you're going to miss out. But if you're doing this over in person, if you ask them for a discount and they say no, you can just be, okay, that's fine, I'll just pay what you're asking. So I wouldn't go into the situation assuming that they're going to accept your offer if it's a really good deal already, but you can ask if you want, you know. Number 5, be bold. If you message someone about a good deal and then it gets marked as pending or sold, send another message, ask if it's pending for full price, gather some info, establish the conversation. Then, if it makes sense for you, you can offer more than their asking price, but you usually want to offer immediate pickup. If they say no, offer more, you got nothing to lose. So I've had this happen to me a bunch of times, and I've also done this to other people, where there's a really good deal. I see the deal, I message the person, they don't respond, or maybe they do respond at first, and then they don't respond, they mark it as pending, they mark it as sold, but I still really want the deal. So I'll message them again, I'll be like, hey, did you sell for full price, or is it pending for full price? And they'll let me know. Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. Either way, if they say no, then I'll be like, hey, I'll give you full price of what you're asking, and I'll come pick it up right now. That usually works because you're paying what they're asking. If someone else is already paying what they're asking, you can be like, hey, I'll give you an additional $15, $20, $30, $40, whatever it is. And sometimes that will work, but that one's less likely because they've already been, they're already receiving what they're asking, so they don't really want to screw other people over, which I totally understand. But sometimes it works, and then they're gonna get more money, and you may get the deal. But the big thing with that is you usually want to go and pick it up right away, or else they're not going to say yes, and then maybe someone else will do that to you. If you had to wait, 7 hours before you go pick it up, maybe someone else will do the same thing, and then they'll just make more money and you won't get the item. So having the immediate pickup is really good there. But honestly, even if you can't, maybe you're working a job and you're not doing this full time yet, why not try, even if you can't pick it up immediately. So number 6, test different messages. Would you be able to do X for me has been one of the best messages that I've used and had the most success with. But you can also try aggressive approaches. So saying like, considering it has X issue, would you be able to do Y? I can come pick it up whenever you're available. What's your address? So you're just assuming that they're going to say yes, and you're asking what their address is right off the bat. This has worked for me in the past as well. I think it's very person dependent. Some people, like for me personally, I've had people try and do it to me, and I'm like, why are you assuming that I'm going to give you this deal? Like it bothers me when people do it. So I also don't do it to people, but some people are just like, oh, whatever, like this, they just kind of go with the flow more, and they're more okay with other people being assertive. So it's really person dependent. eBay plus bulk deals equals win. So eBay is where we stand out. That means when you find people selling big lots of stuff for one price, you can flip them and maximize a profit by selling each item individually on eBay. This is honestly where I stand out from a lot of people who do this business. I've met a lot of people in my town, my old town where I lived, who were doing the same thing as me and were making less money and weren't as successful with it. And the biggest factor seemed to be the fact that, well, a lot of them were doing part-time, but also that they weren't selling on eBay, whereas I was. So I was able to sell all the little individual games and make $5, $10 here and there, whereas they had to bundle everything together and sell it locally for one price, and they weren't making nearly as much. Also, if you want to sell different goods like coffee machines, blenders, printer, ink, just whatever you can find at things like thrift stores, eBay is definitely going to be your best friend there. You're going to have a hard time making a good profit selling things locally from thrift stores like that. It still is possible, but eBay is definitely going to help you out. Number 8, ask about issues in person. If you ask in person if there's any issues and the seller says no, then you have a higher chance of the person helping you out if there is any issues. This is just like a little psychology tactic where, like, if you're in person and you ask the person, like, hey, is there any issues with this? And they tell you verbally in person, they say no. and you get home and you realize that there are issues with it, something doesn't work, some function doesn't work, you message them like, hey, you told me that it worked, there's this issue. I usually wouldn't say that. I wouldn't be so confrontational. If I bought something and I found out later that it had an issue, usually what I'll do is I'll be like, hey, this item I just bought, or hey, it's got this issue. Like, did you know about this? Or something along those lines. Something very subtle. I won't ask for money back. I won't ask for a refund. I won't be like, oh, you need to take this back. I'll just let them know what I found and then let them respond. And sometimes I don't respond, and then you can send a follow-up message. But I never start off like super aggressive, like, oh, like I need my money back. Like, you're putting the ball in their wheelhouse, And again, if you talk to them in person and if they said there's no issues, and then you say there's an issue, most people, 99% of the time, will then give your money back. I've only had one situation where a guy told me there was no issues. I brought home there was an issue, and then he lost his marbles and didn't want to send my money back, which I understood. And I understood because it seemed like he was in a financial loophole that was not so good. So I just let it go eventually. But sometimes it happens. But again, very, very rare. So number 9, turn Marketplace into an addiction. You want to be checking Marketplace and Kijiji every few hours minimum, or at least the more often the better. But obviously, like every 10 minutes isn't going to help you much. I mean, it could, but I'd say like every 1 to 2 hours, every 3 hours is probably the best. But again, like the more often the better. If you did it once every hour, you'd probably get even more deals. But a lot of times you're going to check and it's going to be the exact same things. So once you get into this, it becomes easy because you get hits of dopamine when you find good deals. This is like one of the great things about the business, because it literally becomes an addiction. Like whenever you find a good deal and you know what you're looking for and you secure the deal, like your brain releases dopamine because you know what it entails, you know how much money you're going to make, you know how it's going to play out, and it becomes fun. It's like a little game. So the more you do it, the more fun you have with it, the more money you're going to make. Number 10, bad photos equals money. So bad photos deter a lot of casual buyers, and this is an opportunity for resellers. There's been so many times I've seen people selling things and they just have really, really bad photos. They've had the item up for 2 or 3 weeks, and I message them, I offer them even less than what they're asking, and it's already a low price. And I'll get it because no one else has messaged them, because their photos are terrible and people don't know what they're getting. But I don't really care. I see the title and I'm like, as long as it's actually what they're saying, then I'll buy it. I don't care so much of the condition as long as it's not broken. And if it's usually like you can clean it up, like usually people like that, they have just like dirt or stains or dust under something. So you wipe it down, you clean it up, and then it's good to go and you sell it. So that's the 10 main steps for buying. I'm going to make another video right after this, the 10 best steps for selling on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. But I hope this helped anyone who's watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.